Okay, so let's get started. We have this listening test which we are going to solve together. We will go through all 40 questions one by one, and I'll give you tips and techniques to deal with that. Remember, in IELTS listening, there are 40 questions. In every section, there are 10 questions, and in total, there are 4 sections. Section 1 is the easiest one. Section 3 is the toughest one. And section 2 and 4, they are normal. They're not very difficult, okay? So it's just not your English which will help you in IELTS. Along with your English, we have some test techniques also, so which you need to follow. Now, I'll give you all those tips, test techniques to deal with this type of test. Okay, now let's get started. Part 1, questions 1 to 10. Questions 1 to 7, complete the notes below. So question type is notes completion, right? Next, write one word only. So there is no number, it's just one word only, right? So we have to write a number, one word for answer. That gentleman does not have handout, give him the handout. Next, the title is very important. Opportunities for voluntary work in Saudo village. Saudo is the name of the village, like we have Sadoki. They have Saudo and Sadoki, same villages, okay? So Saudo village and volunteer. Volunteer is someone who is working without any monetary benefit, without any gain, like we call him Razakar. So you're going to work in a village as a volunteer. Now you may switch on your imagination and see that I'm going to work as a volunteer in a village. So what type of conversation? One person wants to become a volunteer and the second person will give information. Like there is an NGO. Right? So someone is going to work with that. Next, library, lunch club, and help for individual needs. There are 3 categories. 1, they need a volunteer in the library. Second, they need a volunteer in the lunch club. Now, what is lunch club? Langar Sharif. You know, whenever they have Wasitar Langar Sharif ka ihtimam hai. People go for Langar Sharif. So, this is lunch club. And third is help for individuals. Like, you know, in the village, there are some old people who cannot even walk and they have to go to the hospital or they have to do something. So there are 3 categories. And as you practice IELTS listening, you will easily understand. I mean, after solving 10 to 15 tests, you will understand their mindset. So let's go on. Question number 1, help with dash books. Now, it is related to books. They need help with dash books. Now, what do they do? Very simple. There are 2 things here. Before the blank, we have help, and after the blank, we have books. So what will they do? For help, they may use the word help, assistance, or get involved in. When you get involved in something, you help. And for books, they will, when answer comes, they will not use the word books. They will use the word they, T-H-E-Y, they. Or they may use the word them. For example, if I say, you will help us arrange them. For example, if I say, we have books in the library and you will help us to arrange them. Them means books. Okay, so this is very common. Them, these, those, that, it. These words are very common. So you need to see what is the word that is actually the original word behind. So, help with, for help, they may use the word get involved with dash books. Okay, and for books, they may use the word them. Now, please listen to the audio and answer question number 1.
You will hear a woman called Jan phoning a man about their local conservation group.
Hello?
Oh, hello. My name's Jan. Are you the right person to talk to about the Buckworth Conservation Group?
Yes, I'm Peter. I'm the secretary.
Good. I've just moved to this area and I'm interested in getting involved. I was in a similar group where I used to live. Could you tell me something about your activities, please?
Of course. Well, we have a mixture of regular activities and special events. One of the regular ones is trying to keep the beach free of litter. A few of us spend a couple of hours a month.
I played the wrong audio.
Oh, and Part 1. You will hear a man asking about voluntary work in the village that he has just moved to.
Hello, Jane Fairbanks speaking.
Oh, good morning.
My name's Frank Pritchard. I've just retired and moved to Southo. I'd like to become a volunteer, and I gather you coordinate voluntary work in the village?
That's right.
What sort of thing could I do?
Well, we need help with the village library. We borrow books from the town library, and individuals also donate them. So one thing you could do is get involved in collecting them. If you've got a car, that is.
Yes, that's no problem.
So, one thing you can do to get involved in collecting them. We've got books in the library. One thing you can do, get involved in collecting them. So answer is collecting. Well done. Very good. Now we have question number 2. Help needed to keep dash of books up to date. They need help to keep something related to books up to date. So let's see what is it that they need to keep up to date. Okay, maybe data of books up to date or anything like that.
Oh, another thing is the records that we keep of the books we're given, and those we borrow and need to return to the town library. It would be very useful to have another person to help keep them up to date.
Right. I'm used to working on a computer. I presume they're computerized?
Oh, yes.
So, records. Well done. Exactly. Listen again.
Oh, another thing is the records that we keep of the books
Another thing that the records we keep of the books
we're given, and those we borrow and need to return to the town library. It would be very useful to have another person to help keep them up to date.
it will be very useful to have another person to keep them up to date. Them. What do they mean by them? No, to keep them. Them means records. They are talking about records now in question number 2. So to keep them up to date does not mean to keep books up to date. How can you up to date the book? To keep the records of the book up to date.
Keep of the books we're given, and those we borrow and need to return to the town library.
And those we borrow. What do they mean by those? Books. And you should understand this. Unless you understand this, answer will come and go and you will never notice that. First time he used the word books, then he's using those, them, they, and all that.
It would be very useful to have another person to help keep them up to date.
Okay, it'll be very useful to help another person keep them up to date. Keep them up to date means keep records up to date. Okay. Now, let's go on. Question number 3. Library is in the dash room. You can see room are capital. It means it's going to be a proper noun. Okay, for example, executive room, like this room is called boardroom. Okay, so they will tell us the name of the room and you will write it down. And if the name is unusual name, then they will spell it for you. If the name is normal name, then they will not spell it for you. Okay, so if the name is like, if they say Charlton room, now Charlton is something you don't know, then they will spell it for you. Okay, now let's see what is the name of the room.
Is the library purpose-built? I haven't noticed it when I've walked around the village.
No, we simply have the use of a room in the village hall. The West Room. It's on the left as you go in.
Oh, I must go and have a look inside the hall.
Yes.
Okay, so what's the name of the room? West Room. Okay, the other day I was giving online class and one student answered rest room. And I said rest room is washroom, toilet. Okay, so they have a library in the toilet. Come on. So you have to be logical. Okay, answer is West Room. Whenever you write the wrong answer, logically, ethically, it will not fit. So you need to, when they give you 10 minutes in paper delivered IELTS to transfer your answer to the answer sheet, or in computer delivered IELTS, they give you 3 minutes before they lock the test. So you need to check the words written and what is before and what is after. This is how you can correct some of your answers. So correct answer is West. V-E-W-E-S-T, West. Well done. Very good. Now let's go on. Question number 4 is about lunch club. Help by providing. Now lunch club is they offer free lunch. Like we have lunch clubs here. We call them langar. Okay. So help by providing. Now answer will come after the synonym of providing. Provide, give, render, offer, anything like that. Okay, I'll say, we need someone to do that. For example, help by providing meals. Answer is meals. They'll say, we need someone to offer meals. We need someone to hand over the meals. Anything like that, okay? Now, let's see.
Do you run a lunch club in the village for elderly people? I know a lot of places do.
Yes, we have a very successful club.
I could help with transport, if that's of any use.
Oh, definitely. People come to the club from neighbouring villages, and we're always in need of more drivers.
So, transport or drivers? Transport, exactly. Help by providing transport. Okay, and she said we are always in need of drivers. They need drivers, but actually he's not going to provide drivers. He's going to provide transport. In actual exam, they will not play the audio one by one like I'm playing. In actual exam, they will not repeat the audio. Keep that in mind. It's not raise your hand in actual exam. Repeat, please. Okay, they will not repeat it. Okay, then you say my teacher
Do you
was
run
good.
a lunch
He used to repeat the audio.
club in the village for elderly people?
Same question.
I know a lot of places do.
Yes, we have a very successful club.
I could help with transport, if that's of any use.
Oh, definitely.
I could help with transport if that is of any use. Oh, definitely. And by the way, IELTS speaking listening part 1 is the best way to pick up new words, new sentences like yes, definitely. I could help with yes, definitely. So you can learn these phrases, and listening part 1 will improve your speaking bench score. Okay, that's important. So correct answer is transport. Now let's go on. Lunch club, help with hobbies such as. Whenever they use the word such as, for that they may use the word for example, for instance, like. For example, I can help with hobbies like music, like art, for example, art, something like that. Okay, now please listen and answer.
And does the club have groups that focus on a particular hobby too? I could get involved in one or two, particularly if there are any art groups.
Excellent. I'll find out where we need help and get back to you.
Fine.
Particularly any art group, he said. Now, will you write art group? Yeah, because if you write art group, you're writing 2 words and your right answer will be wrong. So hobbies such as, now listen, for such as he used the word particularly. Such as and particularly, they are synonyms.
And does the club have groups that focus on a particular hobby too? I could get involved in one or two, particularly if there are any art groups.
Particularly if there are any art groups, so art will be the right answer. Okay, let's go on. Help for individuals needed next week. Taking Mrs. Carroll to. Now you are going to get an opportunity to take Mrs. Carroll to somewhere. Not date, okay? Come on. Taking Mrs. Carroll to some place. She's already Mrs. Carroll, Exactly. Once a student called me and he said, sir, I want to go abroad. I'm not educated, but I can pay if there is any lady who can marry me. I said, yes, why not? There is a lady. She can marry you and she's only 87 years old. And he started thinking, he said, okay, no problem. And then he realized she was older than his own grandmother. So I said, are you going to marry a granny and then you're going to go to a foreign country? He said, doesn't matter, nani ka pyar bhi milega and all that. So anyway, whenever somebody asks me something silly, I become very naughty. The other day somebody said, I want to buy IELTS certificate. I said, okay, why not? Is there any vegetable shop near your house? He said, yes. I said, go there and tell him to give you IELTS certificate. You can buy from there. He said, are you kidding? I said, yes, I'm kidding. So there is no way to get IELTS certificate. This is the only way that you guys are doing. Question number 6. So let's see, where are they going to take Mrs. Carroll to?
What about help for individual residents? Do you arrange that at all?
Yes, we do it as a one-off. Oh, in fact, there's Mrs. Carroll. She needs a lift to the hospital next week, and we're struggling to find someone.
When's her appointment?
On Tuesday. It would take the whole morning.
I could do that.
Oh, that...
Okay. She needs a lift to the hospital. So taking Mrs. Carroll to hospital. After that, you can go to any cafe, but first you have to take her to the hospital. So correct answer is hospital. Question number 7. Work in the dash at Mr. Salisbury's house. Now, Mr. Salisbury is an old person. He needs help in one part of his house. It can be work in the kitchen, for example. Like he's got a kitchen and you need to help him there. Or it can be any other part of the house. Now, you need to see, there can be a trap. For example, if they say in the audio, there is some work in his dining room, but we have already arranged 2 volunteers who will do that. But there is some problem in his kitchen. So if you wish to do that, so answer will be kitchen, where he needs help. Where he's already found somebody, that will not be the answer. Okay? Now please listen carefully and then see.
And also next week, we're arranging to have some work done to Mr. Salisbury's house before he moves, as he isn't healthy enough to do it himself. We've got some people to decorate his kitchen, but if you could do some weeding in his garden, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
So, garden. We have some people to work in his kitchen, but if you could do the weeding. Let me tell you one thing, in IELTS, they do not trust your guess. They always give you 2 options. That is why IELTS is so popular all over the world. They give you 1 right answer with 1 wrong answer. And they check your ability that you know English. If only, for example, answer is garden. And in the audio, they say only garden. They don't talk about kitchen. You will write it easily. This does not check your language ability. Language ability is marked when there are 2 options. 1 is wrong, 1 is right. So that's the thing. Now, we've got questions 8 to 10. Complete the table below. Write 1 word only. Now, we've got village social events. You know, in the villages, they have certain events and all that. Date is 19th October. The name of event. And question number 8, below that it's written dance, New Year's Eve party. So it's going to be something like that. Okay. Now, what's your clue word? Clue word is on 19th October, we are going to organize, or on 19th October, there will be a concert. For example, if they say concert, answer is concert. There will be a, or if they say a concert will be held on 19th October. So whatever the name of the event is, that will be your answer. Now please listen.
The volunteers group also organises monthly social events, which is a great way to meet other people, of course.
Uh-huh.
So next month, on the 19th of October, we're holding a quiz. A couple of residents are great at planning unusual ones, and we always fill the village hall.
That sounds like fun. Can I do anything to help?
Well, because of the number of people, we need plenty of refreshments for...
So, quiz, that's right. Correct answer is quiz. Initially she said...
The volunteers group also organises monthly social events, which is a great way to meet other people, of course.
Uh-huh.
So next month, on the 19th of October, we're holding a quiz.
We are holding a. Holding a means event. And answer is quiz. Q-U-I-Z. Because of wrong spelling, students usually have 2 to 3 wrong answers. Next, audio will continue. Now, when they speak 18th November, you have to be a little alert. Dance, village hall. Question number 9. Now, imagine there is a dance event in the village hall and they need someone to check dash. Security. Check security doesn't make any sense. Maybe. Yeah, you're good at guessing. Okay. So you check the pass, exactly. Check the pass, check invitations or anything like that. Now, let's see.
Then on November the 18th, we're holding a dance, also in the village hall. We've booked a band that specialises in music of the 1930s. They've been before. And we've had a lot of requests to bring them back.
I'm not really a dancer, but I'd like to do something to help.
Well, we sell tickets in advance. And having an extra person to check them at the door as people arrive would be good.
So, tickets. We sell tickets in advance. Now check how they speak. And having an extra person to check them. Now what do they mean by them? tickets. So you should know this. Once you realize this, check them. Them means tickets. Answer is tickets. Good job. That's great. Question number 10, 31 December, New Year's Eve party, Mountfort Hotel, designing the dash. Now they need to design something. Let's see whatever they have to design. For design, they may use the word design, create, make, or anything like that, okay? Yeah. And this elderly fellow in the audio is very old in IELTS. I've heard his audios in book number 6, 7, 8, 9 as well. I mean, they've got a team. These people are all paid people. They are not normal people. They are people who have got very good English, very good accent of English, right? And this old man, I've heard him many times in other parts as well.
We're also arranging a New Year's Eve party. We're expecting that to be a really big event. So instead of the village hall, it'll be held in the Mountfort Hotel.
The...
Mountfort. M-O-U-N-T-F-O-R-T Hotel. It isn't in Southo itself, but it's only a couple of miles away. The hotel will be providing dinner, and we've booked a band. The one thing we haven't got yet is a poster. That isn't something you could do by any chance, is it?
Well, actually, yes. Before I retired, I was a graphic...
Okay, so poster. And the old fellow said, before I retired, I was a graphic designer. Look at him, he's retired old man and he wants to do some voluntary work, right? So answer is poster. So if you understand the question and you know what is going to be your answer, then the answer will never be slipped from the audio, okay? Good. Okay guys, now please be attentive in IELTS listening part 2 and part 3. Without multiple choice questions, you cannot get good bench score. So now we are going to deal with multiple choice questions. Multiple choice questions are very, very frequent in IELTS listening part 2 and part 3. And sometimes they are very frequent. One of my students, he got 30 multiple choice questions in actual IELTS listening test. Right? I'm not trying to scare you, but this will not happen every time. Okay, this happened with him. Like there were multiple choice questions in part 1, then part 2, then part 3, and in part 4 also there were 4, 5 multiple choice questions. So they may appear anywhere. So you need to learn to deal with them. Now we've got here Oniton Hall. We don't know what Oniton Hall is, but from hall we understand it is a hall. You know hall, wedding hall. Yeah. So, question number 11. Many past owners. Now, owners of what? This Oniton Hall. And you don't need to know the meaning of Oniton. It's okay, it's a hall. It's just a hall. Hall is used for anything. It can be used for auditorium. It can be used for hostel. We also use the word hall and all that. Many past owners made changes to dash. Now listen, where past owners made changes means they altered. So where they altered, that will be your answer. What is exactly the same, that will not be your answer. Option A, gardens. If they say the gardens looked as if when they were first built. So are there any changes? No, it will not be your answer. Option B. If they say the original house is, even today, the original house is in the same condition without any alterations. Will it be the answer? No. The answer is where they made changes. And it is the farm has never been as it was originally built. Every owner left his mark to the farm and now it is the modern one. So answer will be farm. So you need to see where they made changes. That will be your answer. Where there is no change, right, that is not going to be. So 2 places they will not talk about them with changes, and 1 place they will say everybody left his mark. They changed this thing and that thing and all that.
You will hear a guide at a tourist attraction called Oniton Hall talking to a group of visitors.
Good morning and welcome to Oniton Hall, one of the largest estates in the area. My name's Nick and I'm one of the guides. I'll give you a brief introduction to the estate while you're sitting down, and then we'll walk round. The estate consists of the house, gardens, parkland and farm, and it dates back to the 14th century. The original house was replaced in the late 17th century, and of course it has had a large number of owners. Almost all of them have left their mark, generally by adding new rooms, like the ballroom and conservatory, or by demolishing others. The farm looks much as it's always done, although the current owner has done a great deal of work to the flower beds.
Okay, so what's the right answer? House. So when you write your answer, what will you write? Will you write house or B? Exactly. It's a common mistake. What do the students do? They write B. Then they say, no, I should write some more. Then they write the house. So this is how your answer will be wrong. Whenever they label it, label means A, B, C. You need to write that. So correct answer is B. Now we see why A and C are wrong answers. In multiple choice, your target should be to identify and eliminate the wrong answers. Once you know how to eliminate the wrong answers, you will automatically find the right answer, right? And those who do not understand English, in the audio, they say the farm, say, farm is the right answer. They need to understand what are they talking about farm. That's important. Please listen to it again.
You will hear a guide
To Oniton Hall, one of the largest estates in the area. My name's Nick, and I'm one of the guides. I'll give you a brief introduction to the estate while you're sitting down, and then we'll walk round. The estate consists of the house, gardens, parkland and farm, and it dates back to the 14th century. The original house was replaced in the late 17th century.
Okay, now they say original house was replaced. So when it was replaced, it means they made changes.
And of course, it has had a large number of owners. Almost all of them have left their mark.
It has large number of owners. Almost all of them left their mark. Leaving their mark means they changed it.
Generally by adding new rooms, like the ballroom and conservatory, or by demolishing others.
Okay, so they left their mark by adding new rooms or by demolishing others. So correct answer is option B, house. Question number 12. Sir Edward Downes built Oniton Hall because. Now the reason. Why did he construct Oniton Hall? What was the reason? There are 3 reasons. 2 reasons will be false according to the audio, and 1 reason is going to be true according to the audio. So, option A, discussing politics. See, I'm not reading all the option. Discussing politics. If he built the house to discuss politics, A will be the right answer. And if they say he hated politics and he wanted to run away from that, and that's why he constructed this house, then A will not be the answer. Option B, display his wealth. If they say he was a very wealthy person, he constructed this house to show off his riches to the people, then B will be the right answer. And option C, place for artists and writers. Place for artists and writers. If they say he built this house to attract artists and writers to come there and all that. So it's going to be option C. Now let's see, what is the purpose? Why did he construct this hall? Option A, politics. Option B, show his wealth. And option C, a place for artists and writers.
In the 17th century, the estate was owned by a very wealthy man called Sir Edward Downes. His intention was to escape from the world of politics after years as an active politician, and to build a new house worthy of his big collection of books, paintings and sculptures. He broke off contact with his former political allies and hosted meetings of creative and literary people, like painters and poets. Unusually for his time, he didn't care whether his guests were rich or poor, as long as they had talent.
C, no. A, well done, that's the wrong answer. Okay, this is how I catch the thief. Correct answer is option C. Plays for artists and writers. Listen again.
In the 17th century, the estate was owned by a very wealthy man called Sir Edward Downes. His intention was to escape from the world of politics.
His intention was to escape from the world of politics. How can you say place for discussing politics? His intention was to escape. Escape means bhagna, nasjana. Okay, like you guys want to escape. So A is not the right answer. Now let's see B.
After years as an active politician, and to build a new house worthy of his big collection of books, paintings and sculptures.
Okay, now books, painting and sculpture. They're not talking about wealth, display of wealth. No, it's painting, sculpture and books. Let's go on.
He broke off contact with his former political allies.
He broke off contact with his former political allies. Again, not politics. He broke off contact. So when he broke off contact, it was not for this.
And hosted meetings of creative and literary people.
Hosted meeting of creative and literary people. That is artists and writers.
Like painters and poets.
Okay, painters and poets. Painters are artists and poets are writers. So correct answer is C. And one more thing.
Unusually for his time, he didn't care whether his guests were rich or poor.
He didn't care whether his guests were rich or poor. So if it was a display of wealth, then there could be only rich people. He didn't care whether his guests were rich or poor. Question number 13. Visitors can learn about the work of servants. Now imagine there is an old house, like you go to Badshahi Mosque, Shahi Kila, and there they show us about the work of servants in the past. Like, you know, Kanis and the other, servants in the past, okay? So how will they tell us about the work of servants in the past? Option A, audio guides. Audio guides are like audio commentary, where people talk, audio, okay? Option B, photographs, that on the walls there are photographs of servants in the past. So if you can learn about the servants in the past from the photographs, B will be the right answer. C, people in costume. Your costume is like, you may have seen when you go to a good shopping mall, there is that Doraemon. He's wearing Mickey Mouse, Doraemon and all that. Yeah, okay. So there is a person inside, yeah. So people in the costume. Now, for example, there are some people who are wearing the costume of 18th century servants and they are moving around and you learn about them. So now there are three ways. One is audio commentary, second is photographs, and third is people in costume. Now, how you learn? That will be the right answer. If in the audio he says we have photographs and photographs display how the servants were in the past. So answer is photographs. If he says photographs don't tell anything. So that is why we have an audio commentary and we will describe how the servants were in the past. Answer is A. Like this you need to listen, right? So let's see.
Big houses like Oniton had dozens of servants until the 1920s or 30s, and we've tried to show what their working lives were like. Photographs, of course, don't give much of an idea, so instead, as you go round the house, you'll see volunteers dressed up as 19th century servants going about their work. They'll explain what they're doing and tell you their recipes or what tools they're using. We've just introduced this feature to replace the audio guide we used to have available.
Okay. To replace audio guide, we used to have available. Now, once you find the right answer, then they say audio guide and you don't understand audio guide. Okay. They said we use this feature to replace the audio guide. So now they have option C, people in costume. For people, he used the word volunteers. And for costume, he used the word 20th century clothes. Okay, like that. Question number 14. What is new for children at Oniton Hall? This word new, you will see it many times in IELTS listening, IELTS reading. Now, what is new? The other day I was solving it's not this test. The other day I was solving another test and they said, what is new? And in the audio say, well, the cheeks have just come out of the eggs. So what's new? Cheeks are new. Okay, what's new? If they say, for example, like the elephant has given birth to a small baby elephant. So that is something new. So they will not use the word new. For new, they can just talk about something like that. Another thing, at one point they said, well, the flowers have just bloomed. So you can just see that. So new flowers, right? Now what is new? For new, they commonly use the word latest, recent, another. For example, we have purchased another something. So another is also that. Now let's see what is new. Option A, clothes for dressing up. If in the audio say, as usual, we have clothes you can wear to have your photos, as usual. And if they say, we have added some new dresses, or we have purchased a whole new collection of dresses, a whole new, range of clothes, then it can be the answer. B, mini tractor. Mini. For mini, they may use the word small. Tractor. And option C, adventure playground. If they say, we have recently constructed the adventure playground, it's just opened yesterday. It's just opened yesterday means it is new. Now listen, what was already there will not be your answer. And what they have recently purchased, what they have just bought, that will be your answer. So please listen and answer.
I see there are a number of children here with you today. Well, we have several activities specially for children, like dressing up in the sorts of clothes that children wore in the past. And as it's a fine day, some of you will probably want to play in the adventure playground. Our latest addition is child-sized tractors that you can drive around the grounds.
Okay. Yes, our latest addition is child-sized tractor. For mini, what is the synonym? Child-sized. Okay, so latest addition and new answer is option B. Got the point? So whenever you practice, odd answers should be out and then you'll find the right one. Okay, now we've got matching type of questions. Questions 15 to 20. Which activity is offered at each of the following locations? Now what do you have to do? You will have to match activities with locations. Questions are locations and options are activities. When they give you half a minute to read the question, will you read questions or options? Options, because questions will not be replaced in the audio. Question number 15, dairy. In the audio, they will say dairy. Question number 16, large barn. They will not replace it. Actual game is the, they will use the synonyms for activities. Now, I tell you what type of synonyms. Option A, what is it? Shopping. Now, in the audio, they will not use the word shopping because by doing this, unna nu maut pendi hai. Right? So they will say that this is the place where you can buy gifts. This is the place where you can buy gifts. You can purchase homemade things. You can purchase handicrafts. Right? So option A will go there. Gifts, purchase, buy, anything like that. Option B, watching cows being milked. So there will be a display of, they'll say their farmers will be milking the cows and you will get a chance to observe them, to see them. And do not use your logic in IELTS. Like you say, watching cows being milked, question number 15, dairy, yes, it will go there. Okay, it's not going to happen like that, right? Option C, seeing old farming equipment. Now, old farming equipment. For old farming equipment, they will use the word farming tools. And the word is seeing. Seeing is, this is the farming tool and you can only see it. Option D, eating and drinking. Very simple. They will use the word sandwich, tea, coffee, homemade this and that and all that. So wherever they talk about any eatable, any drinkable, this will go there. Option E, starting a trip. They are very clever. They will say you will reach a place. From there, you can take a train ride. You know, in the farms, there are small trains. So if they say from there, for example, if they say you will reach small barn and from small barn, you can have a train ride. You can have a train ride means starting a trip. And by the way, for trip, they commonly use the word tour. Tour of the farm. Tour of the farm. Okay, so it will go there. Option F, seeing rare breeds of animals. Now, rare breeds. Rare breeds are which are not very common. For example, these days penguins and then pandas. White pandas? No. Pandas are a rare breed. Yeah, they are rare breed. Rare breed means few are left. Okay, so seeing rare breeds. Now, for rare breeds, they commonly use the word, you will see the cows which are not found in farms these days. You will see the cows which are not found in the farms these days, means they are rare breeds. Next, option G, helping to look after animals. For animals, they may use the word cow, buffalo, donkey, horse, and for looking after, they'll say, you will take care of the donkey. So it's a great honor for you guys, yeah? So, next is using farm tools. Now, using farm tools means you will use them. Listen, option B and option H, they may be confusing. You know why? Sorry, option C and option H. In option C, you will see farm tools. In option H, you will use farm tools. Now be careful with that. Okay, see and use. So, question number 15, dairy.
We'll also be going into the farm that's part of the estate, where there's plenty to do. Most of the buildings date from the 18th century, so you can really step back into an agricultural past. Until recently, the dairy was where milk from the cows was turned into cheese. It's now the place to go for lunch, or afternoon tea, or just a cup of coffee and a slice of homemade cake.
So, dairy used to be a place to make cheese and all that, but now it's a place to go for lunch, afternoon tea, coffee, homemade what? Homemade cheese. So correct answer is option D. Well done. Question number 16, large barn. Now, if you don't understand the meaning of large barn, doesn't matter. Imagine it's a place in the farmhouse, right? It's called bada, big one, large barn where they keep animals and all, like a shed they have there, okay? So, let's see.
The big stone building that dominates the farm is the large barn. And in here is our collection of agricultural tools. These were used in the past to plough the earth, sow seeds, make gates, and much more.
Collection of agricultural tools which were used. Now you will not use them, which were used in the past to plough the earth and all that. So correct answer is C, seeing old farming equipment. Please listen to it again, those who missed it.
The big stone building that dominates the farm is the large barn. And in here is our collection of agricultural tools. These were used in the past to plough the earth.
Okay, our collection of agricultural tools, these were used in the past. Now you will not use them. Question number 17, small barn.
There's a small barn, also made of stone, where you can groom the donkeys and horses to keep their coats clean. They really seem to enjoy having it done, and children love grooming them.
Okay, small barn where you can groom the horses and donkeys. So that is option G, helping to look after animals. For looking after, you use the word groom. And for animals, horses and donkeys. Okay, that's good. For them, it's a beauty parlor. Okay, question number 18, stables. Actually, a stable is a place where horses are kept. But this is IELTS. Okay, now if they say horses no longer live in the stable, now they will tell you something else.
The horses no longer live in the stables,
Yeah.
which instead is the place to go to buy gifts, books, our own jams and pickles, and clothes and blankets made of wool from our sheep.
It's a place to buy gifts, pickle, blankets, this and that. So answer is A, shopping. Question number 19, shed.
Outside the shed, which is the only brick building, you can climb into a horse-drawn carriage for a lovely, relaxing tour of the park and farm. The carriages are well over 100 years old.
Okay. So you can enjoy a lovely tour. That tour is starting a trip. So outside the shed. In the beginning he said,
Outside the shed, which is the only brick building, you can climb into a horse-drawn carriage for a lovely, relaxing tour.
okay, you can climb onto a horse-drawn carriage for a lovely, relaxing tour. So that is option E, starting a trip. Next, we've got question number 20, Parkland.
And finally, the parkland, which was laid out in the 18th century with a lake and trees that are now well established. You'll see types of cattle and sheep that are hardly ever found on farms these days. We're helping to preserve...
Okay, you will find cattle and sheep that are hardly ever found in farm these days. Means rare breeds. And for rare breeds that are hardly found in farms these days. So whenever you do IELTS listening, do it actively like this, the way I'm doing, okay? Yeah. Okay guys, now we reach IELTS listening part 3. And listening part 3 is actually the, advanced part of IELTS listening. The context of IELTS listening part 3 is academic. They're going to discuss something related to education. Maybe 2 students will be discussing about their presentation or about their final project. Sometimes there are 2 students and 1 tutor. So there may be maximum 3 speakers, minimum 2 speakers. And if there are 2 speakers, 1 is lady, 1 is a gentleman, so that you can differentiate the voices and all that. In listening part 3, the audio goes on as per normal speed. Most common question type in listening part 3 is multiple choice, single or double. And number 2, matching. Like matching is where you have to match options with the questions. So let's get started. Questions 21 to 22. It's a double multiple choice question. Choose 2 letters A to E. Which 2 things do the students agree? Now underline 2 things students agree. Which 2 things do the students agree they need to include in the reviews of Romeo and Juliet? Underline include. 2 things students agree, include, and then underline review. So they are writing a review of Romeo and Juliet. Right? You know Romeo and Juliet? Yeah, it's a play of Shakespeare, right? Juliet was the father of Romeo. No, mother of Romeo, exactly. What? They were like Mrs. Carroll? Okay. It's a love story like we have Heer Ranja and all that. So Romeo and Juliet. Now out of 5 things, 2 things they are going to include in their review and they agree. They will talk to each other, right? One will say, for example, option A, analysis of text. One should say we should add the text analysis. And the second one says, no, in the review, we don't do that. So I think we should avoid it. The first one says, okay, A is not the right answer. Option B, summary of plot. Now, let me cut these options short. Option A, text analysis. Option B, plot, summary of plot. Option C, theater description. Theater description means how the theater was. Option D, personal reaction. Okay, and option E, reference to particular scenes. Now listen very carefully. These words will bring you the answer, and your ability to interpret these words will help you find the answer. Option A, text analysis. Text analysis is like you have to analyze some text. That text can be essay, report, poetry, which you have to analyze. For example, Romeo and Juliet, there is the text in it, so you analyze the text written by Shakespeare. Option B, plot summary. Now plot summary, you tell people who is Romeo, who is Juliet. One thing. And second, you say people already know. For example, if we talk about Heer Ranja, people already know who Heer Ranja are and all that. Option C, theater description. Are they going to describe the theater? right? If for example, one says, we must add theater description, and the second one says, yes, in review it is very important, so let's add it. It's the right answer. And if the second one says, in review, we don't usually add theater description, or the second one says, I think it is irrelevant, it's not the answer. So they agree what they are going to add to their review. They are two students, they are writing a review of Romeo and Juliet. What they are going to add in the review and what they are going to drop. What they drop will not be your answer. What they agree to add will be your answer. Option D, personal reaction. I have seen this word in IELTS many times, personal reaction. For personal reaction, they talk about feelings, emotions, love, and all that. Emotional impact and all that. And option E, reference to particular scenes. Now imagine Romeo and Juliet is a play and it is filmed also. So if they're going to add some scenes from the play, for example, when Romeo comes to meet Juliet and Juliet's brother kicks him, anything like that, okay? So that is a scene of the play, right? When they decide to run, I don't know this story, I don't know, okay? Honestly, I don't know. So when they decide to run away, means they are adding some scenes from the play. For scenes, they can use the word important bits of the play, some scenes from the play, and all that. Now, whatever they agree to add will be your answer, and all 5 options will be discussed in any order where they agree you've got to see. Let's get started.
Part 3. You will hear 2 theatre studies students discussing stage and screen performances of Shakespeare's play Romeo and Juliet.
Did you make notes while you were watching the performances of Romeo and Juliet, Gemma?
Yes, I did. I found it quite hard, though. I kept getting too involved in the play.
Me too. I ended up not taking notes. I wrote down my impressions when I got home. Do you mind if I check a few things with you, in case I've missed anything? And I've also got some questions about our assignment.
No, it's good to talk things through. I may have missed things too.
Okay, great. So, first of all, I'm not sure how much information we should include in our reviews.
Right. Well, I don't think we need to describe what happens, especially as Romeo and Juliet is one of Shakespeare's most well-known plays.
Yeah, everyone knows the story. In an essay, we'd focus on the poetry and Shakespeare's use of imagery, etc. But that isn't really relevant in a review. We're supposed to focus on how effective this particular production is.
We should say what made it a success or a failure.
And part of that means talking about the emotional impact the performance had on us. I think that's important.
Yes. And we should definitely mention how well the director handled important bits of the play, like when Romeo climbs onto Juliet's balcony.
And the fight between Mercutio and Tybalt.
Yes. It would also be interesting to mention the theatre space and how the director used it, but I don't think we'll have space in 800 words.
No, okay. That all sounds quite straightforward.
Okay. Correct answers are? Well done. Correct answers are option D for doctor and E for elephant. Please listen to it once again. I will stop, and basically you need to learn why A, B, C are wrong. If you learn why A, B, C are wrong, automatically you know D and E will be the right answer. They focus more on wrong options to confuse you. Okay, let's see.
Part 3.
I kept getting too...
Do you mind if I check a few things with you, in case I've missed anything? And I've also got some questions about our assignment.
No, it's good to talk things through. I may have missed things too.
Okay, great.
Now, answer will start coming from here.
So, first of all, I'm not sure how much information we should include in our reviews.
Right. Well, I don't think we need to describe what happens, especially as Romeo and Juliet is one of Shakespeare's most well-known plays.
Okay, I don't think we need to describe what happens. That is summary of the plot. You know, sometimes you say Romeo is this, Juliet is this. I don't think we need to describe what happens. So that is option B.
Yeah, everyone knows the story.
Everyone knows the story. So they don't need to describe summary of the plot. B is the first wrong answer. Now come to option A.
In an essay, we'd focus on the poetry and Shakespeare's use of imagery, etc. But that isn't really relevant in a review.
Okay, in essay, we focus poetry and all that imagery, but in a report, that is not relevant. So analysis of text, that is only in essay, and it's not relevant in this review. So A is gone. Now, please come to the next option, D for doctor.
We're supposed to focus on how effective this particular production is.
We should say what made it a success or a failure.
And part of that means talking about the emotional impact
And part of this is talking about emotional impact. Emotional impact is personal reaction. Now, how do we understand they agree? Listen to that.
performance had on us. I think that's important.
Yes.
I think that's important. Yes. When she said yes, it means she agrees on this point only. Okay? Yeah, you're just saying, huh? Next.
And we should definitely mention how well the director handled important bits of the play.
We should definitely mention how well the director handled important bits of the play. Scenes. Now they mention.
Like when Romeo climbs onto Juliet's balcony.
When Romeo climbs onto Juliet's balcony. Oh, hi. That's very bad, yeah? Okay, so Romeo climbs to Juliet's balcony. That is what? Important bits of play.
And the fight between Mercutio and Tybalt.
And the fight between Clucia and Tybalt. So these are scenes of the play. Now, let's talk about one more option, and that is theatre space.
Yes. It would also be interesting to mention the theatre space.
It would also be interesting to mention, but what do you have to check? You have to check their agreement. Okay?
And how the director used it. But I don't think we'll have space in 800 words.
No.
I don't think we'll have space in 800 words. And he said no. No means we don't have space. Okay? So that is the wrong answer. Now we go on questions 23 to 27. 23 to 27, these are aspects of production, and option A to G, opinions. So what will you read first? Absolutely. And they are going to reword them. Option A, both expected this to be more traditional. What do they mean by both? These two speakers, not Romeo and Juliet. These two speakers who are talking, discussing. So both expected this to be more traditional. Listen, underline the word more traditional. And very commonly for traditional, they use the word conventional. Conventional. Traditional, conventional. Option B, both thought this was original. So underline both thought original, was original. Option C, they agree this created the right atmosphere. So agree, created, right atmosphere. Anything, music, maybe. One says music created the good atmosphere, and second one says it was too loud and it caused me a headache. That is not the answer. And if one says music created the right atmosphere, and second one says yes, the musicians were really expert and I was mesmerized with the music, that's the right answer. Option D, they agree this was a major strength. Underline the word major strength. And for major strength, they commonly use the word most memorable, right? Most powerful, something like that, with most. Option E, both disappointed. For disappointed, they commonly use the word what a shame. What a shame. I was disappointed. I was not expecting that. I felt let down. Let down. Let down is also, say, don't let me down. Don't let me down means don't disappoint me. So, let down, disappointed, and all that. Option F, disagree about why this was an issue. For example, if one says, like you went to the cinema, and one says, the sound of the movie was very loud. And the second one says, no, it was not loud, that was normal. So the reason behind the issue, if they say, one says another reason, second says another reason, then this is going to go there. Disagree about why this was an issue. Option G, disagree about how this could be improved. So disagree, how improved. Option F, disagree, why, issue. Now, question number 23, set. Set means the set design of the play. Like when you go to watch a play in the theater, like we have stage dramas, they have a set of that. So what do they say about set?
So, what about the Emporium Theatre's production of the play?
I thought some things worked really well, but there were some problems too.
Yeah. What about the set, for example?
I think it was visually really stunning. I'd say that was probably the most memorable thing about this production.
You're right. The set design was really amazing.
Set
But actually,
design-
I have seen similar...
Okay, set design was amazing, stunning, most memorable thing. Which option? D for doctor. Stunning, visually amazing, and all that. That means their major strength. D will be the right answer. Now in part 3, see, have you noticed part 1 answers come directly? You write down the words. Now this is part 3. Based on your advanced English, you have to interpret such ideas. Right? I'm just playing this part again.
2.
Yeah. Example.
I think it was visually really stunning. I'd say that was probably the most memorable thing about this production.
You're right.
Okay, set was most memorable thing, visually very stunning, and all that. Question number 24, lighting. Lighting of the whole thing.
What about the lighting? Some of the scenes were so dimly lit, it was quite hard to see.
I didn't dislike it. It helped to change the mood of the quieter scenes.
That's a good point.
Lighting. Some of the scenes were dimly lit. Dimly lit means andhera. Okay? And she said that helped to create the atmosphere of the quieter scenes. And they agreed on that. Please listen again.
What about the lighting? Some of the scenes were so dimly lit, it was quite hard to see.
I didn't dislike it. It helped to change the mood of the quieter scenes.
It helped to change the mood of quieter scenes, means created the right atmosphere. Right? So C will be the right answer. And how do they agree?
That's a good point.
That's a good point. That's a good point means they agree on that. Question number 25, costume design. Now, the dress the artists were wearing, that is what we call costume design.
What did you think of the costumes?
I was a bit surprised by the contemporary dress, I must say.
Yeah, I think it worked well, but I'd assumed it would be more conventional.
Me too.
I'd assume it would be more conventional. More conventional means more traditional. Okay? That's right. A is the right answer. Question number 26, music.
I liked the music at the beginning, and I thought the musicians were brilliant. But I thought they were wasted because the music didn't have much impact in Acts 2 and 3.
Yes, that was a shame.
The music didn't have impact in Acts 2 and 3, and that was a shame. E, they were both disappointed by this. Focus again.
I liked the music at the beginning, and I thought the musicians were brilliant. But I thought they were wasted because
They were wasted, means they didn't play good music.
the music didn't have much impact in Acts 2 and 3.
The music didn't have much impact in Acts 2 and 3. They were wasted.
Yes, that was a shame.
Yes, that was a shame. Means they were disappointed with that, right? Correct answer is E. They were both disappointed. Question number 27. Actors' delivery. Actors' delivery of dialogues. How actors delivered the dialogues.
One problem with this production was that the actors didn't deliver the lines that well. They were speaking too fast.
It was a problem, I agree. But I thought it was because they weren't speaking loudly enough, especially at key points in the play.
I actually didn't have a problem with that.
One said they were speaking too fast. Second said they were speaking too loudly. So the one who said they were speaking too loudly, second said I didn't have a problem with that. F, exactly. They disagree about why this was an issue. One said they were speaking too fast, one said they were speaking loudly, and they didn't agree on that. Good job. Now, we go on. Questions 28 to 30, once again, multiple choice questions. Yes. They should? I don't understand your question. There is confusion between F and G. Okay, F is they agree about why this was an issue. Why means reason. And what was the reason? They were talking too fast. They were talking too loudly. And G is they disagree about how this could be improved. They did not talk about any improvement. They did not give any suggestion. For option G, there should have been a suggestion. So there is no, for example, if they say they should have talked slowly, or they shouldn't have talked so loudly, that is a suggestion. But they said they were speaking fast. One said they were not speaking loudly. So they were only arguing with the reason. And the reason is option F. And option G is suggestion. But they did not give any suggestion. Okay, questions 28 to 30. Students think story of Romeo and Juliet is still relevant. Still relevant is even today. People can read the story of Romeo and Juliet and they can relate the character of Romeo and Juliet into our society. Okay? For young people today, young people means teenagers, youngsters and all that. Because, now what is the reason why the story of Romeo and Juliet is relevant today? Option A, how easily conflict can start. Because in Romeo and Juliet there's a lot of conflict. So how easily conflict can start. So if the story of Romeo and Juliet is relevant today because of the conflict. Conflict means fight. It can start anytime. If because of the conflict or fight, A will be the right answer. Option B, problems that families have. For problems, they may use the word issues. For families, they can use the word brother, sister, father, mother, uncle, aunt, and all that. So if the story is relevant because families experience the same problems these days, then it is B. And option C teaches them about relationship. So if the story is relevant because it teaches people about the relationship, then it is option C. Now let's see why the story is still relevant today.
It's been an interesting experience watching different versions of Romeo and Juliet, hasn't it?
Definitely. It's made me realise how relevant the play still is.
Right. I mean, a lot's changed since Shakespeare's time, but in many ways, nothing's changed. There are always disagreements and tension between teenagers and their parents.
Yes, that's something all young people can relate to.
That's something all the young people can relate to. There are always tensions and between young people and their parents. Which option? B. Now A is conflict, but they did not mention young people and their parents. For young people and their parents, they used option B. Please listen to it again.
Juliet, hasn't it?
Definitely. It's made me realise how relevant the play still is.
Right. I mean, a lot's changed since Shakespeare's time, but in many ways, nothing's changed. There are always disagreements and tension between teenagers and their parents.
There are always disagreements and tensions between teenagers and their parents. So parents is families and tensions and disagreements, they are problems. Correct answer is option B. Question number 29. Students found watching Romeo and Juliet in another language. Instead of English, they watched Romeo and Juliet in French or Japanese or Chinese. So how was the experience? Option A, frustrating. Frustrating is like they didn't understand anything. If experience was frustrating, A will be the right answer. Demanding. Demanding means they had to struggle. They had to put in a lot of effort to understand. That is demanding. And C, moving. Moving is something that touches your heart. See, this story moved me from inside. Means the story touched my heart. So if it was, it touched their heart. If it was like this, then moving. If they had to pay a lot of attention to understand the whole play, then it is B. And if they couldn't understand, it was frustrating and all, they felt bored. Bored is another way to express that. So let's see, how was their experience?
How did you find watching it in translation?
Really interesting. I expected to find it more challenging, but I could follow the story pretty well.
I stopped worrying about not being able to understand all the words and focused on the actors' expressions. The ending was pretty powerful.
Yes, that somehow intensified the emotion for me.
The ending was pretty powerful. That intensified emotion for me. What does it mean? Moving, not demanding. right? Demanding is like, say, my wife is very demanding. Yeah, Yasin? She demands a lot. Yeah, once a person said, my wife is very demanding. Every day she asks me for $100. And the man said, okay, why don't you see what does she do with $100? And the husband replied, I never gave her $100. She's only asking. Okay, question number 30. Why do students think Shakespeare's play have such international appeal? International appeal means all over the world people read Shakespeare. So why? Why do the students think Shakespeare's dramas have international appeal? Means globally people like them. What is the reason? Option A, exciting stories. If the reason is stories are exciting, A will be the right answer. Option B, recognizable characters. Right? Like, we've got the story of Heer Ranja and we've got a villain. What is the name of villain in Heer Ranja? Kaido. Right? So we see Kaido in every society. You want to get married with someone and there is an uncle who is not agreeing, you say that uncle is Kaido. Like that, okay? So recognizable characters means characters are found. Yeah. Okay, that's what we call pyar ke dushman everywhere. Option C, they can be interpreted in many ways. Like Shakespeare's plays, they can be interpreted in many ways. Now listen, for interpret, we commonly use the word understand. For example, they can be interpreted. They may be understood many ways. For many ways, they may use the word different levels. For example, they can be understood at different levels. Then it is option C. If they say the characters are found in every society or such characters are found in every society, that is option B. And if they say the stories are very interesting, then it is option A. Now please listen and answer.
Did you know Shakespeare's been translated into more languages than any other writer?
What's the reason for his international appeal, do you think?
I was reading that it's because his plays are about basic themes that people everywhere are familiar with.
Yeah, and they can also be understood on different levels. The characters have such depth.
Right, which allows directors to experiment and find new angles.
That's really important.
Okay, correct answer is option C. Please listen once again.
Did you know Shakespeare's been translated into more languages than any other writer?
What's the reason for his international appeal, do you think?
I was reading that it's because his plays are about basic themes that people everywhere are familiar with.
Yeah, and they can also be understood on different levels.
They can also be understood on different levels. So they can be interpreted in many ways, also be understood on different levels. That's it. बहुत सुगड़ बच्चा है. अपनी मिसेस को कोई काम नहीं करने देता. कहता आज मैं किसी की बेटी को सुख दूंगा तो कल को अल्लाह ताला मेरी बेटियों को भी सुख देंगे. ये हर बंदे की जो है ना वो होनी चाहिए. Okay, now let's get started. Listening part 4. Remember, no matter how difficult part 3 is, part 4 is going to be all right. Okay, so if you miss a couple of answers in part 3, don't worry about that. Once again, part 4 will provide you an opportunity to come back to the game. Part 4 is like last 10 overs. Okay, so you can even score well in these last 10 overs. In part 4, most of the time, question type is one word and or a number. And there is a lecture. Part 4 is academic. Part 3 is academic. Part 2 is social. And part 1, IELTS listening, is also social. Like, Saudo village and all that, that was social. Oniton Hall, that was also social. Then they were discussing Shakespeare's drama and their review, that was educational. And now we've got part 4 and this is also educational. So, impact of digital technology. Impact means influence. Digital technology means mobile phones, laptops, internet, websites, tablets and all that. Impact of digital technology on Icelandic language. There is a beautiful country in Europe where I plan to go someday in future. That is called Iceland. It's a very small country, very beautiful country. So they speak a language, Icelandic language. Now there are 3 words. One is Iceland, which is the name of a country. One is Ireland. Ireland is the name of another country that is in UK. I think it's part of UK. No, it is not. Yeah. Northern Ireland and yeah, that's right. And then we've got another word which is what we call island. ISLAND. Land. Island is dry part which is surrounded with water. Okay, like Sri Lanka is an island. Okay, all sides water. So we've got this Iceland. Now, Icelandic language, the first thing is Icelandic language. Second is young speakers. Third heading is technology and internet companies. And the last heading is government. So it means this presentation or this lecture is divided into 4 parts. And these 4 parts are distinct. I mean, they will tell you when they reach part 2. They will not say now we are going to start part 2, but they will say, let's talk about young speakers. It means they are there. Let's talk about the role of technology and internet companies. It means they are there. So you need to see that. Now, Icelandic language, and then there is the first bullet point. They say has approximately dash speakers. Answer is going to be a number. The first thing. Second, for approximately. For approximately, they can use the word, for example, answer is 5,000 speakers. Approximately 5,000 speakers, almost 5,000 speakers, nearly 5,000 speakers, around 5,000 speakers, more or less 5,000 speakers. All these are the synonyms of approximately. Okay. Now, another thing, you guys should know how to write large numbers. For example, if they say 5 million, how will you write 5 million? 5 and then another word million. If they say 385,000, 385,000, how will you write? Now don't write it in words. 385,000, 6 words. You will be writing this and the audio will finish. Okay, so for example, if it is 385,000, you can write 385,000. You know what we call 1 lakh? There is no word like lakh in English. Okay, so 1 lakh is 100,000. 100,000. 2 lakh is 200,000. 2.5 lakhs, 250,000. 250,000. So you should know how to write these numbers. Okay, now let's get started.
Part 4. You will hear a lecturer on a languages course talking about the impact of digital technology on Icelandic, the native language of Iceland.
Right, everyone, let's make a start. Over the past few sessions, we've been considering the reasons why some world languages are in decline. And today I'm going to introduce another factor that affects languages and the speakers of those languages, and that's technology, and in particular, digital technology. In order to illustrate its effect, I'm going to focus on the Icelandic language, which is spoken by around 321,000 people, most of whom live in Iceland, an island in the North Atlantic Ocean.
Okay, 321,000 people. For speakers, she said people, and for approximately, she said around. So how will you write your answer? 321,000. That's it. Even that is correct. 321 and then you write, but you know that is not proper way of writing a number. The proper way is 321,000. Let me check your answer as well. Just give me a second. Yeah, you cannot write that. No, you cannot write. You can only write 321,000. They have given the options. If there is the other way of writing that number, they always write the option at the end, but there is no option. They've only written 321,000. Now, whether you write comma or you don't write, that doesn't matter. So correct answer is 321,000. So keep it in your mind. If there's a larger number, you should write it in numbers. Now, Icelandic language has something that is still growing. Icelandic language has something that is still growing. Now, underline the word still growing. Now, what is still growing will be your answer. And for still growing, they commonly say continually increasing. Okay, continually increasing. Continually means still and increasing means growing. Now, what is still growing in Icelandic language? And one more thing, as they are talking about language, they will use language vocabulary. What is language vocabulary? Grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary, and all that. So such type of words, bilingual, monolingual, multilingual, you will see there will be many answers which will be the part of language vocabulary. Okay, so let's see question number 32.
The problem for this language is not the number of speakers, even though this number is small, nor is it about losing words to other languages such as English. In fact, the vocabulary of Icelandic is continually increasing, because when speakers need a new word for something, they tend to create one rather than borrowing from another language.
Okay, so vocabulary is continually increasing. When they need a new word, they create it. That's very good. And in our native language Urdu, we don't create the word. We add English word to our Urdu language, right? So correct answer is vocabulary. Now, if you write vocab, sometimes you are fashionable, vocab. So vocab will be wrong answer. Proper word is vocabulary. So you should know the proper spelling of that as well. Okay, next they talk about last 1,000 years, but there is no question. So when they speak the word last 1,000 years, it means audio is here. Next they say Icelandic language has its own words for computer-based concepts. Like, we've got mouse. We cannot call it chuha, right? Chuha or keyboard. We cannot say that. Monitor is monitor, right? We don't have any word. They say Icelandic language has its own words for computer-based concepts such as web browser and dash. Now, one computer-based concept is web browser. Second, they will tell us in the audio. Okay, so it can be anything related to computer. And our answer will come after web browser.
Icelandic, then, is alive and growing. All this makes Icelandic quite a special language. It's changed very little in the past millennium, yet it can handle 21st century concepts related to the use of computers and digital technology. Take, for example, the word for web browser. This is vafri in Icelandic, which comes from the verb to wander. I can't think of a more appropriate term because that's exactly what you do mentally when you browse the internet. Then there's an Icelandic word for podcast, which is too hard to pronounce, and so on.
Okay, then there is an Icelandic word for podcast, which is too hard to pronounce. Now remember one thing, sometimes we have compound nouns, a word that may contain two parts. For example, classroom, it's one word. Podcast, it's one word. So whenever you're doing IELTS listening part 1 and part 4, without any confusion, if you find such word, write it them all together. Podcast, P-O-D-C-A-S-T, podcast, write it all together. So correct answer is podcast. Now, the subject of presentation is young speakers. Young speakers are big users of digital technology such as, and if you remember, we read this word such as before, where he used the word certain. Where was it, by the way? I think part 1. Such as. Yeah, question number 5. Part 1, question number 5. See that? These things will repeat. Yeah. Now, such as. For such as, you can use the word for example. Another way of expressing such as, think about. Such as, think about. Such as computer, think about computer. Such as train, think about train. Such as, think about, and all that. Now, whatever he says after the synonym of such as, it will be your answer.
Icelandic, then, is alive and growing, and it's a big but, young Icelanders spend a great deal of time in the digital world, and this world is predominantly English. Think about smartphones. They didn't even exist until comparatively recently, but today, young people use them all the time to read.
Okay, think about smartphones. How many words? One word. It's not smart phone. Good. Okay. You don't need to. Smartphone is one word. So you can write as it is, smartphone. Let me check if you can add hyphen or not. They give the options all the time. No, there isn't any option without hyphen. Okay, let's go on after this. By the way, let me tell you deep down, even if you write smartphone separately, they will accept it. But sometimes they put your answer sheet in the scanner, and then artificial intelligence is going to check your listening and reading answers. Now, if this answer smart and phone separately is not fed there, your answer will be wrong. So that is why it is good not to take any risk. Okay, let's go on. Young speakers are becoming something very quickly. Now, what is it that they are becoming very quickly? Right? Yeah, let's see.
Obviously, this is a good thing in many respects because it promotes their bilingual skills. But the extent of the influence of English in the virtual world is staggering, and it's all happening really fast.
It's all happening really fast. Now, what is happening really fast? They are becoming bilingual. Excellent. Right? This is happening very fast. Please, let's go back.
See, this is a good thing in many respects because it promotes their bilingual skills.
It promotes their bilingual skills, like they are using computers in English and they speak Icelandic, so they are becoming bilingual.
But the extent of the influence of English in the virtual world is staggering, and it's all happening really fast.
It's all happening really fast, means they are becoming bilingual really fast. So correct answer is bilingual. Again, same language vocabulary. Bilingual. Question number 36. Young speakers are having discussions using only English while they are in the dash at school. Now, answer is a part of school. For example, while they are in the classroom at school, while they are in the cafe at school, while they are in. So answer is going to be a place which is related to school. So young Icelanders, they speak English when they are in some part of their school. Which part is that?
For their parents and grandparents, the change is less concerning because they already have their native speaker skills in Icelandic. But for young speakers, well, the outcome is a little troubling. For example, teachers have found that playground conversations in Icelandic secondary schools can be conducted entirely in English.
Playground conversations can be conducted in entirely English. So what is the answer? Playground. See that? While they are in the playground at school, and for that they said playground conversations are held entirely in English. Now playground, again, you will write it all together as one word. Okay, many words are like this: playground, podcast, and all that. Now let's go on. Young speakers are better able to identify the content of a dash in English than Icelandic. Underline the word content of. Okay, now for example, answer is book. Young speakers are better able to identify the content of a book. So for content of a book, they can say what is written in the book. Okay, content of a movie. For example, answer is movie. So they may say that what is in the movie, what is happening in the movie, what is in the movie, what is happening in the movie, that means the content. So whatever they say after the synonym or paraphrasing of content of, that will be your right answer. Let's see.
While teachers of much younger children have reported situations where their classes find it easier to say what is in a picture using English rather than Icelandic. The very real and worrying consequence.
What is in a picture using English rather than Icelandic?
While teachers of much younger children have reported situations where their classes find it easier to say what is in a picture using English rather than Icelandic.
Okay, what is in a picture? Now, what is in a means content of. And you will find content of somewhere in IELTS listening or in IELTS reading. These things will repeat time and again. Next, technology and internet companies write very little. Who writes very little? Internet companies. Technology and internet companies write very little in Icelandic because of the small number of speakers and because of how complicated its dash is. Now tell me, what do they mean by its? Speakers? Come on. Unless you realize what do they mean by its, you will not find the answer. How complicated its dash is. Its means Icelandic language. Okay, technology and internet companies write very little in Icelandic because the small number of speakers and because how complex its dash is. So how complicated Icelandic dash is. Now it can be vocabulary, it can be pronunciation, it can be grammar or anything like that. Okay, so let's see.
Of course, this is happening to other European languages too. But while internet companies might be willing to offer, say, French options in their systems, It's much harder for them to justify the expense of doing the same for a language that has a population the size of a French town, such as Nice. The other drawback of Icelandic is the grammar, which is significantly more complex than in most languages.
Okay, the other problem is grammar, which is significantly more complex than other languages. Okay, so correct answer is grammar. Now tell me honestly, how many of you have written grammar with G-R-A-M-M-E-R? Yeah, see, that's the spelling mistake. So grammar is G-R-A-M-M-A-R. And you'll be very happy, grammar. Okay, G-R-A-M-M-A-R, grammar. Grammar is the right one. Okay, this is a very common mistake. See, you found the right answer, but because of spelling, it is wrong. Next, Icelandic government. Now, finally, they talk about government of Iceland. And there are 2 points without any question. At this point, audio will go on and on and on for some time. No answer will come. Don't panic. When they use the word secure future, or when they use the word future, it means now they are going to come to the question. Okay, can you see second bullet point, secure future? So after this answer will come. Now the third bullet point, Icelandic government is worried the young Icelanders may lose their dash as Icelanders. See, when you are forgetting your native language, what will you lose? Identity. Well done, that is the right answer. You know what do we call it? Logical thinking. Or sometimes this is what we call a group of words that come together. And you know this word lose. When you don't know your language, you lose your identity. And the word lose and identity, they often come together. Okay? Let's see. Maybe I'm wrong.
So, what is the Icelandic government doing about this? Well, large sums of money are being allocated to a language technology fund that it is hoped will lead to the development of Icelandic-sourced apps and other social media and digital systems. But clearly this is going to be an uphill struggle. On the positive side, they know that Icelandic is still the official language of education and government. It has survived for well over 1,000 years, and the experts predict that its future in this nation-state is sound and will continue to be so. However, there's no doubt that it's becoming an inevitable second choice in young people's lives. This raises important questions. When you consider how much of the past is tied up in a language, will young Icelanders lose their sense of their own identity?
Will young Icelanders lose their sense of identity? May lose their identity as Iceland. And they use the word sense of identity. Why? Those who do not understand, they will write sense. And they don't know sense is nonsense here. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, okay? So correct answer is lose their identity. Let's go on. Question number 40. Government is worried about the consequences of children not being dash in either Icelandic or English. Like, you know, yes, exactly. Like we are learning Urdu and English. And as a result, children who are learning Urdu and English together, they are not fluent in any of these languages, anything like that, okay? So, let's see.
Another issue that concerns the government of Iceland is this. If children are learning 2 languages through different routes, neither of which they are fully fluent in, will they be able to express themselves properly?
Okay, neither of them they are fully fluent in. Now, neither of them they are fluent. For neither, they use the word either. Or we also pronounce it neither or either. So neither of them means children are not fluent in either Icelandic or English, right? Correct answer is fluent. Fluent will be the right answer. Just listen to this.
Another issue that concerns the government of Iceland is this. If children are learning 2 languages through different routes, neither of which they are fully fluent in, will they be able to express themselves properly?
Okay, neither of them they are fully fluent in. F-L-U-E-N-T, fluent, right? Okay, thank you.